If everyone could take their seats, please. The chair would like to call to order tonight's regular meeting of the Board of Ed, April 10th, 2018. And if we could do a roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong.
Here.
Mrs. Charlton.
Here.
Mrs. Coyle.
Here.
Mr. Price.
Here.
Mr. Rudy.
Here.
Mr. Strohmeyer.
Here.
Ms. Wilson.
Here.
Thank you.
If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is approval of minutes. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the March 20th, 2018 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of the March 20th, 2018 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, we have public comment. First, we have Carrie Bauerlein.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Carrie Bauerlein, and I am WTA co-president. My purpose in addressing you tonight is in direct response to the statements expressed by members of the board at the March 20th, 2018 board meeting, in which members of the WTA, including our athletic director and coaches, were unfairly and inaccurately called into question. I cannot stress enough that this is not about the conference selection, whatever that choice may be. The WTA as a whole feels the conduct of the board at that meeting and in prior instances related to the subject has been extremely unprofessional and disrespectful. We strongly object to the vilification and ridicule of WTA members by the board. When the Board of Education opts to use divisive and negative tone, it fosters an environment of distrust and uncertainty, which is not conducive to promoting the kind of environment we all want District 201 to be known for, nor does it help the relationship we spent years building. Everyone in this room has the same goal, which is creating the optimal opportunities for our students. The WTA and administration have agreed upon protocols that ensure we acknowledge and model the behaviors that reflect the desired culture we wish to promote. Clearly, this did not occur. We recognize emotions are high because we're making decisions that involve our children. These kids mean everything to all of us. I can say wholeheartedly that the WTA members put their blood, sweat, and tears into their work, whether it's in the classroom, on the court, or on the field. It is students first, all of the time. Yet to diminish and undervalue the WTA members' essential role in this process and in the successes the district has had without meeting to attempt to resolve any misunderstandings or disagreements does not help the district move forward in a positive way. Since the onset of the study for potential athletic conference options, all WTA personnel having input on this matter have been diligent and forthcoming in providing accurate, inclusive, and impartial data. This information, paired with their years of experience in this matter, would provide useful and valuable insight, thus allowing the Board of Education to make the best decision for the health, safety, and future of our students. Instead, we have witnessed actions leaving many feeling unfairly censored and ridiculed, largely based on hearsay or facts that are simply untrue. I would like to acknowledge that the Board of Education reached out to us on Friday, April 6th for a meeting to be held on Monday, April 9th in an attempt to reopen the dialogue between themselves and the coaching staff. Due to the extremely short timeline as presented, it was impossible for us to accept that invitation and assemble the appropriate personnel in order to hold a valuable discussion due to pre-existing commitments, including sporting events and practices, much as the same reason as many of those same people cannot be here with us tonight. The WTA would respectfully ask that the board reschedule that meeting and table any further action in this matter until that time. At the very least, we hope to find resolution in this matter with more open dialogue through meetings and committees on issues of this stature, and assurances that this treatment will not be accepted as the norm for conduct moving forward. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Okay, we have another public comment, but at this time, we are going to read a statement as well. As a school district, we have prided ourselves on the collaborative relationships we have had throughout the district. As a result, there are so many accomplishments we can point to with a sense of pride. The building upgrades that help our buildings be more secure and added improvement learning environments. The implementation of all-day kindergarten, a dual language program, and instructional coaches. We have improved our curriculum and challenged our students academically like never before. We have improved the overall climate of our schools. All of this has been accomplished through our collaborative relationships and by focusing on what is best for our students. The decision as to what athletic activity conference in one context is not a major decision, but it is an important one that the board takes seriously. However, the process that has unfolded throughout could threaten to color everything we have accomplished as a district. As a district, we should be able to disagree and have different opinions. If we, as a district, are not happy with the process, then we all need to reflect on our role. What could we do differently the next time there is a decision to be made and there are differing opinions? How do we focus on the needs of the students and set personal feelings aside? Once a decision is made as to what conference to join, we all have to decide where we go from here. We cannot let this single event define who we are. We have all worked too hard to create the school district we are today. We need to be better, and we will be better. We need to continue to work together and continue to move our district forward. Thank you. Okay, I have a card here. Bob Kaplan.
I'm going to defer to the last public comment, please.
Great. Okay.
Or anybody who would state it in real public comment.
Certainly. Then, are there any other public comments? Step forward, please.
Do you need this?
Sure, if you have something.
Thank you. Hello. My name is Sebastian Charles Gamboa, and to grant you more insight into my point of view, I'd like to give you all a brief background on me. I'm part of the class of 2019 and would want nothing for the best for the future of my school, as I have two sisters on the way there now. I'm the student president of the Youth in Government and Model United Nations Club, and I'm involved in Scholastic Bowl and the newspaper club. I have a part-time job and am taking 5 AP tests. I'm just your average stressed-out high school student. Now, what you didn't hear in that blurb were major sports teams, and other than Scholastic Bowl, you may wonder why I even care about the new conference. And that's because over the last few months, the toxic rhetoric directed towards the coaches, athletic director, and student athletes has been infuriating and near impossible to stomach. You, the board, have stated all that you've wanted is a fair conversation and public input leading up to the decision regarding the selection of a new conference, and that you have not received it. Quite frankly, that's simply because you have not agreed with the response. I, like the majority of the students, support joining the Northeastern Athletic Conference, and at this point, everyone has become so entrenched in their views, and arguing for or against it is futile. The decision to join the NEAC is clearly the better option, and as someone who has sat through long bus rides for Scholastic Bowl and football, they're not that bad at all, and they build a sense of team and friendship. And I would rather be in a conference that has a comparable amount of students and a comparable caliber of athletic programs that have been established for over a period of time. That's not to say that we are incapable of winning in any other conference. It's just to say that putting ourselves in a position to win more games, or in a position, I should say, to win less games, does nothing but decrease morale and subsequently decrease enrollment in our athletic programs. You, the board, should have a duty to put us all in the best position to succeed, and by joining the Metro Suburban, you are failing. Additionally, I cannot ignore the fact that your mere search for input for the school community is essentially taunting the Sentinel family. You clearly have all made up your minds and are either knew the public opinion would sway towards the NEAC and are taunting us, or you are so disconnected and disenfranchised in our school that you have not even realized that the students would support something like that. And to be honest with you, I don't even know which is worse. Essentially, why would you bait a whole school community into caring about this issue, creating such a divisive environment when you already know what the outcome is, when you've already made up your minds? I just want to leave you all with this. I'm disappointed with the board as a whole, its divisive rhetoric, and hope that when this is said and done, you can either make the right decision and join the NEAC and try to repair the relationships that have been, quite frankly, torn down, or I hope you are able to make peace with yourselves after consciously abandoning those you were elected to make beneficial decisions for. I want to thank you all for giving me this time, and I wish you all good night.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Okay, then we'll move on to the consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Personnel recommendations, licensed staff, Guadalupe Garcia, 3rd grade dual language teacher, Miller Elementary School. Fabiola Tavor, 5th grade dual language teacher, Miller Elementary School. Support staff, Ryan Paranto, game worker, Westmont High School. 2, appointment of DAOES representative. 3, approval of student tours. 4, approval of additional March 2018 expenditure report.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong,
Yes.
Mrs. Coyle,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Rudy,
Yes.
Mr. Stromeyer,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, then we have the action item tonight, which is the approval of 2019-2020 Westmont High School Athletic Co-Curricular Conference. The board would like to thank everyone for sharing your opinions with us and your passion for our schools. While we may not agree on every item, it is extremely important for us to hear from everyone to make an informed, educated decision. The board has reached out to our community in many ways, and in the end, it is now the opportunity for the board to discuss this topic and vote. First, I would like to allow Gary to speak to the committee on this topic, as well as any other comments he wishes to make. After that, as the other committee member, I will give my comments, and then our fellow board members will each be afforded the opportunity to share their thoughts and discuss this. As you can see in board docs, there is not a specific conference mentioned in the actual motion. When the board has finished our discussion, I will go around and take a straw poll as to what conference we are leaning toward, and then we will set the language for the motion. Okay, Mr. Armstrong?
Thanks, Marie. This is very brief. The board committee met 5 times in public meetings and 4 times individually with administrators. We have engaged all the stakeholders, the student athletes, the parents, and coaches to gain as much information as possible. With all this, there is no overwhelming choice, so we simply must look at what's best for the student athletes and the parents. The board committee is recommending the Metro Division based on the fact that they offer more sports that we currently play, and the conference games will be closer for more potential involvement from those that want to participate. Thank you. Go Sentinels.
Okay, student athlete. In the past few months, as I have contemplated this topic, I've tried to keep my focus on what is best for the student athlete. I have read all the materials provided to us. I have done my own research on the numbers and the facts. I have listened to the participation at all of our informational meetings. I have heard from our coaches and administrators. I have received emails, texts, and I have received phone calls. For me, my own personal decision must be based on what I believe is best for the student. I must look at the full educational experience that we offer to our kids. My own decision on this topic of an athletic conference must be the same as all other decisions. How will this enhance the education of our student? Our athletic handbook states the student first, athlete second, and and winning third philosophy, that it means that we are trying to make our players better for all of life lessons. We believe that winning is very important, but it is not important as helping develop these players as good people. That is the quote. I have put a lot of thought into my decision, and I've weighed the pros and cons of choosing the right conference for our high school. Our district has taken a dramatic shift in philosophy over the past number of years. We are small giants. We tell our students to challenge themselves. We tell our students to go outside their comfort zones. We support our students and we encourage them. We give our students the tools that they need to succeed. We have all raised the bar in our academic standards. Now let's apply all of those same standards to our student athletes. We will circle back to that later on. One of the things that we talk about in our district is the growth mindset. There are posters throughout the school reminding our students what this means. Quote, challenges help me grow. Quote, my effort and attitude determine my abilities. Quote, I want to learn new things and I'm eager to take risks. Quote, I know this will help me even though it is difficult. As the facts present themselves, we have a great opportunity to apply the same small giant philosophy to our athletics that we apply to our academics. As we select a conference that will challenge our student athletes, we can give them the same support so they can achieve their dreams. We can raise the athletic bar and tell our athletes they can compete, in the true sense of the word, with their similarly situated peers. We can allow our student athletes the full time in the classroom so they do not fall behind in their studies. We can prepare our athletes for the next level of play. One thing that I've heard is that some believe that we should choose NEAC so that we can win more games in that division. Some have stated that if we don't improve our winning records, our students won't participate in sports. Kevin Carey, our own superintendent, has weighed in on this conversation, and I appreciate what he had to share. Some may not know this, but Kevin has been a coach in his previous career. Kevin shared that he looked for research that linked winning in sports to participation among students. He told us that he did not find any research that proved that there is a link between these two. However, he did find research that shows that high school students were very interested in playing. Kevin, if I misconstrued that in any way, you certainly. Travel times in small schools. For the past number of years, we have played in the Interstate I-8 conference. We've played in that conference because that is the only way that we can compete, is to play similarly sized schools. And because of this, we have had to travel an average of about an hour to each school. Because of the lengthy travel, there are many times that our students have had to leave school early to travel to these schools. They have missed valuable time in the classroom. Then after the game, the students have the long drive back home on a bus, and many have homework to do. This is not the most conducive element to study, and the students cannot work on their Chromebooks because there isn't reliable Wi-Fi on a moving bus. We didn't have a choice about travel times while we were in the I-8. However, if we choose Metro, our travel times will greatly diminish, and our students don't have to lose valuable study time. I strongly believe that this is a huge factor for us to consider. Athletic offerings. Another thing that resonated with me is the ability for our high school students to participate in sports. As I look at the two conferences, it is clear to me that Metro has more offerings for our students to choose from, whereas NEAC does not even offer some of the sport options that Westmont High School does. Metro is the conference that offers our students the ability to participate in more sports. The board asked for data that showed how Westmont High School has fared against Metro and NEAC over the past 4 years. The data that we were given shows that we can compete against Metro, and that in the past 4 years, we have won an average of 53% of our games. The data also shows that when we've played NEAC, in the past 4 years, we've won an average of 72% of our games. As one data point, I believe that we can definitely compete in Metro and that we can be successful. One thing that we've heard over the past couple of months is that some want Westmont High School to be the top dog in the conference. I decided to take a look at the numbers and I did my own analysis. Based on a number of conversations with the head of Metro, it appears that there would be 2 tiers to the conference. If we were to join Metro, we would most likely be placed in Tier B with the smaller schools. I have prepared a graph that I would like to share with my fellow board members, and I've asked Gary to put it up on the chart. I have 2. I'll deal with the first one first. The first one shows Metro enrollment, and I took the numbers that were given to us, showing Tier A and Tier B. Blue would be Tier A, yellow is Tier B, and then Westmont. Then it's broken down again, Tier A, Tier B, and Westmont by enrollment numbers. The second chart, Gary, would you kindly put the second chart up? Thank you. The second also shows Metro enrollment. I did in this take out the 2 schools that we know that will be, the one school, Glenbard, that is going to be leaving the conference that we already know of. So if you look at the average size of Metro B, that would be 355 students. The average enrollment in Westmont is 448. So again, I really needed to take my own time to analyze the information that we were given. I believe that by joining Metro, we would, in fact, be given the opportunity to be the big dog in the conference. I know that football is very important, and again, I will say it, that I am one of the people who really, really, really likes football. The one thing that I would like to do in terms of football is talk about one of the things that I had talked about before. To the extent that there is a, quote, problem with football, it's not about our kids, it's not about our coaches, and it's not about the schools or the school board. Football participation is down statewide, and there are even lawmakers deciding whether or not to ban contact football for kids under 12. Westmont is not alone on this topic. So I would like to suggest that as we look at our sports, that maybe we take a look at what other high schools in our state are doing and look at an 8-man football team. It's not a decision for me to make, but I think it's something that is worth talking about. During the spring break, I was able to attend a conference where J.J. Watt was one of the keynote speakers. He's an amazing man with an amazing story. He spoke about his career in football and what he wanted to do with his life. He left CMU where he had a full scholarship because he found that it was too easy. He talked about how he put everything on the line and became a walk-on at University of Wisconsin. He worked his hardest and to his fullest potential. He earned a full scholarship for his junior and senior years at Wisconsin. He went on and currently plays in the NFL. And he has set up a spectacular foundation that gives back to the community in numerous ways. In 2017, he also won the Sports Illustrated Sports Person of the Year. He shared that his coach at Wisconsin, that he greatly admired, inspired him in many ways. And one of the things he recalled was to go for the fruit at the top of the tree. That's the sweetest. Anyone can grab the fruit at the bottom. So now here we are. We as the Board of Education must make a decision that will set the direction for our student athletes. Way back when this conversation started, we were asked to make a decision in the spring, and that's where we are. We must make the best educated decision based on the facts that we know and all the information that we have gathered. Given all of the reasons that I have stated, I support joining the Metro Conference. Okay, that's all I had. Does someone else?
Marie, I'll go ahead and go next. And I just kind of gathered thoughts on it, not really a whole prepared statement, but these were the things that kind of swayed my decision. If we could design our own conference, neither Metro nor NEAC would be exactly what we would create. To aid this decision, the board went above and beyond to hear from our entire school community and did our best to request unfiltered data first and opinions second. Opinions were mixed. If Westmont High School had not been reorganized out of the I-8, there is no doubt that we would have continued as a member and participated at I-8's level of competition. In my time on the board, I recall no administrative or athletic staff requests to explore leaving I-8 due to the competitive level of the conference. The Metro Division has 2 tiers grouped by competitiveness per sport. Data reviewed indicate the Metro tier Westmont would be aligned with mirrors the competitive level of the I-8. NEAC could be up to 50% less competitive, as Westmont would be almost twice the size of all but one school in that conference. Choosing a conference to meet the needs of all our teams while meeting the needs of individual athletes is a challenge. Some athletes may participate more for enjoyment, and other athletes may want to pursue college-level athletics after graduation. The desired competitive level of a conference varies with individual student goals. Westmont's athletic offerings are much more in line with Metro's offerings. Coaching staff made a unified recommendation in favor of NEAC, but individual team coaches did express their sport would be fine at Metro's level of competition. Others indicated it could be more of a challenge. Travel distances matter for students and parents. The opportunity to experience what it would be to compete locally is worth exploring. Local competition could increase parent and peer support for our athletes, decrease instruction time missed, as well as reduce lengthy bus trips and some expense. Data must be collected and evaluated pertaining to the new conference. A change could be made in the future based on athletic performance or if additional conference options were to emerge.
Okay, are you done, Joe? Okay, does someone want to go next?
I can go next. I've thought a lot about this decision from every angle possible. Listened to a lot of different voices and different people, and I've done my own research and done it again to make sure it was accurate and representing things fairly. In my estimation, the data on these 2 conferences is mostly a wash. There's a slight win-loss advantage to NEAC. There's a slight travel advantage to Metro. The offerings, I believe, can be solved through scheduling. So it comes down to 2 things for me: our philosophy as a district and the input we've received from various sources. I believe strongly in our Small Giants philosophy and want us to keep the bar high for the students in all areas. I believe Metro is a better fit for our philosophy. We also received input from parents that was largely pro-Metro. They want the kids challenged, they want them in the classroom as much as possible, and they want to be able to see their kids play. Our coaches, students, athletic director, and principal weighed in for NEAC based on their experience within the district's program as it is today. I want to clearly state, regardless of how I vote or how the board votes, I think that input is valuable and valid. And even though the message at times came across as we can't win in Metro, I believe the sentiment was more, our athletic and activities program is currently better positioned to be competitive in a smaller conference. Again, regardless of how we vote, that is valid input that needs to be considered moving forward. I'd like to see us think about and plan for ways we can get better. And I would put it to my fellow board members that if we do choose Metro to raise the bar for our student athletes, we need to then think about and have the conversation at the board table on how we can support a positive outcome for that decision.
I'd like to circle back to that when everyone is done. Thank you, thank you. Is that everything? John?
Like everyone else at the table, I've gone around and around on this decision. I looked at all the provided data sets, I created my own data sets, I did my own research. I've given this entire process that I've known of it a very emotional gut check, and of course the requisite second guessing that follows that. For my part, I found this decision to fall firmly into, unfortunately, a somewhat lose-lose category. Both as a board and as an individual, all we can hope to accomplish is to make the best possible decision we can at any time with the given information set before us. This is true in business, this is true in family matters, and this is especially true as we sit here making decisions that impact the course of others' lives. The reason I find this to be a lose-lose decision, because it is not simple. Both choices have significant up and down sides. We can choose NEAC, we can go and be the big dog in the parlance of Mr. Balderman. We can get to go and get some wins. But at what cost? Are we traveling more or the same as we are now? Are we forcing a square peg in a round hole in regards to availability of athletic opportunities, all the while having to go out and create schedules where none otherwise exist? Are we just applying that mental salve we need that we think is necessary to create winning programs in the short term, all the while circumventing the very necessary hard work ahead to create the same sustained commitment to excellence that we're demanding in our academic pursuits? We could also choose Metro Suburban with the realization we could face similar and potentially more difficult competition. If one were to act on the statistical evidence provided, we'd travel less, yet anecdotally allow our collective butts to be kicked. If one were to act on further statistical evidence, we would travel less and anecdotally challenge our athletes equally or more so than our current situation. Are we inviting opportunities to continue to be other schools' homecoming opponent? Do we believe in our student athletes to rise to the challenge, or are we setting them up to fail? Either way, our students remain students first, athletes second, and winners third, or at least that is the stated philosophy of our athletic department. The question of which conference seems secondary to me when framed within the parlance of that philosophy. It seems to me we are expecting or demanding our students work hard in the classroom, participate in challenging academic climates, all the while providing a very high level of necessary supports for their collective success. As we continue to focus our efforts on the unending pursuit of excellence in academics, we have created an infrastructure for success. AP success in high school does not suddenly appear in the 11th grade. It's cultivated by great teachers and administrators at all levels. From the time our students enter the early childhood center or kindergarten on through 10th grade, our teachers and administrators are fostering and constructing that success. If we do not reach down from the high school and create the same commitment to success in athletics, it makes no difference what conference we participate in. The I-8 has put us in a tough spot, and had the reorganization never occurred, we would not be having this discussion. We would plod along at the status quo and commiserate over the higher than acceptable loss rate and tell each other it's all stacked against us in a conference that we're too small to really compete, and on and on. I firmly believe the I-8's decision has provided an excellent opportunity to turn another corner in the overall renaissance of the district. Our facilities are better and safer than they've ever been. Our faculty, administration, and staff is stronger and better than it has ever been. Our continued academic track record is better than it has ever been. It's time to turn the ship one more time and make the commitment going forward to hanging a different skin on an already substantial skeleton. I have a solid understanding of what I believe the direction of the board will lead. I feel strongly the right decision actually doesn't exist, only the best decision for the district. Neither is bad, neither is perfect. In the end, let us all make the commitment to pursue excellence for all of our students in all of their pursuits.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Judy?
I'd like to share some of my thoughts. I also have looked at the numbers that were given, the numbers from both sides. I've done my own numbers, and it's a really hard decision. There's a lot of emotion packed into it. And in the last 6 weeks, I've talked to parents with and without students in athletic programs at the high school, talked to current and previous students that were athletes and alumni that were also athletes that played in a totally different conference than what we're playing in right now. I've listened and I've heard their opinions. Academics must always come first. The administration and the coaches have always honored and have always respected that. The last few weeks, the climate in our district seems to have shifted to winning at the cost of students missing part or all of their last hour of classes to sometimes travel up to 2 hours away to be on time to a game in order to win. If a student can't keep up their homework and maintain passing grades, they won't be eligible to play. What difference will it make what conference we're in if students can't keep up their grades? The Board of Education's role is to see that each student in our district receives the best education we can provide for them first and foremost. That must always come first. Providing extracurricular comes secondary. Because I care about your students' education, I must put academics first, and therefore I'm supporting Metro Conference.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Rick?
To me, neither athletic conference is individually compelling as an alternative. I've heard some comments that from my fellow board members echoing the same. And as a result, I believe that greater deference should be given to the suggestions of our principal, athletic department, and our coaches. When you review the conference offerings, there are more conference offerings in Metro Suburban, but in many cases, their teams will be 2 or 3 times as many players as ours. The NEAC offers all of our sports and co-curriculars, and where we have gaps, the coaches and ADs will fill them where needed. As stated last time in our last board meeting, the travel times are, I believe, are distorted. 7 of the 13 NEAC schools have good travel times. So half of the schools in the NEAC conference have bad travel times. In reviewing the conference schedules, the conference games for our sports across the average represent half of the season. And that means that a quarter of our season is impacted by travel times. So if half of the schools in our conference in NEAC would be good travel times, that means that 12% of our conference schedule would be far road games. So I believe that we've kind of I appreciate the closer conferences, the closer distances at Metro Suburban, but I think that 12% of our total games for non-conference travel is not too bad. And we've heard many comments about road trips and how the student athletes are succeeding with the distances. But it's not half of our schedule. That's the thing I want to make clear. It's only 1/8 of our schedule. And we need to fill the non-conference schedules. So, you know, the yin and the yang to this conversation. If we take Metro Suburban as our conference, we'll have to fill the 50% of our non-conference schedule. That's going to be schools like NEAC and distances like NEAC. And if we do the NEAC conference as our conference, we're going to fill the non-conference games with schools like Metro Suburban. So there is going to be a blend between the 2 conferences, irrespective of the conference that we choose. And then with regard to competition, our coaches, I think universally, or at least consistently, are telling us that in many sports, we will struggle in Metro Suburban. And we know that a few of our sports are at risk in terms of the number of student athletes that turned out this year and that may turn out in the future years. I appreciate that there's no data to suggest that if we're not successful, that doesn't necessarily correlate to students not showing up. But our coaches are concerned, and so am I. Walther Christian is a school that's changed from Metro Suburban to the NEAC. And Kevin Carey asked them why. And they said they wanted to compete with schools that were similarly sized that they could be more competitive with. I personally believe that Walther Christian is a good comparison to Westmont. Geographically, it's close to us. And then in size, enrollment size, using the IHSA multiplier, it's very similar to our school. So I think that's a good external consideration for what we were getting into. And then lastly, with regard to competition, and it's been stated by other board members, but when we raised our standards in academics, as also stated by Jack at our last board meeting, there was a strategic plan, training, grants, heavy investment of time and money into our AP programs and the raising of our academic standards. I think there's some consideration that should be paid to the fact that we don't currently have a plan for athletic as of today. I hope that the board, if we decide Metro Suburban, we can change that. So to me, I share all these comments not to say that it's a compelling argument. I really think it's pretty down even. And I will be voting for NEAC because I want to show my support to the deference of our principal, athletic department, and our coaches.
Okay, does anyone else want to add anything before we go on? I wanted to, again, circle back to some of the things that were talked about. Kevin and I talked quite a bit since the last meeting about the topic of upping our athletics. And I think one of the things that we all heard very loud and clear in this process was our commitment to academics being so high, and as Rick just said, that didn't happen overnight. So one of the things that we started talking about was, can we start doing that for our athletic programs? So I guess, Kevin, I will ask you to, we have heard that from a number of board members, and I know you and I have discussed that. So can we start looking at that as a way that we can hear what the community and the coaches and the students are saying, and start looking at it, making a commitment to our athletics?
Yes, we can. We've, as an admin team, we've had some preliminary conversations, and that was regardless of which conference we'd ultimately end up in, but definitely that's what's coming through loud and clear, is that, and again, it's regardless of the conference, but there has been a tremendous amount of emphasis on the academics within the district and raising that bar. And we should be looking at, if we truly believe that athletics and all of our student activities are co-curriculars, they're, an extended part of the classroom, then we need to have the same emphasis when it comes to those areas as well. And so that's something that we will make a commitment to.
Okay, and so can we talk about that further in the near future, responding to the requests we've heard from the community as well as members of the board? I know we've received emails and heard from people that talk about that commitment throughout the district as a whole, and that would be something that I personally hear that other people think would be a good place for us to go. So, okay. Did any board members want to add anything? Okay, then we will take a straw poll before we do the motion. We'll do it in the order of that everybody spoke. Gary?
Metro.
Joel?
Metro.
Laura?
Metro.
John?
NEAC.
Judy?
Metro?
Rick?
NEAC.
And myself, Metro. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the 2019-2020 Westmont High School Athletic Co-Curricular Conference as Metro Suburban. Roll call, please.
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry. Roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong,
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton,
Yes.
Mrs. Coyle,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Rudy,
No.
Mr. Strohmeyer,
No.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, motion carried. Superintendent's report is next.
A couple items in my report. First, hopefully now that we're in April, although the recent weather may not indicate this, but typically at this time we announce the final day of school, the official day. This year we used one emergency day, and so therefore the last day of school will be June 1st, 2018, and that will be a full day of school. And then just a reminder for parents of incoming kindergarten students this week. We started on Monday, yesterday, April 9th, and we're going through Friday, April 13th, is kindergarten registration. That's taking place both at Manning Elementary and Miller Elementary from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. or 11 a.m., and then again at 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. If a family, though, those times don't work for a family, they can contact the school office and make arrangements to set up a later time or earlier time. And just a reminder to our community that we do offer all-day kindergarten at both schools, as well as a bilingual program that's open to all students in the district at Miller Elementary School. And then, speaking of registration, we've set a tentative date for our 2018-19 school year registration for all 201 families, and we're looking at August 7th. We haven't finalized times. We're looking to go to 1 day instead of 2 dates, but extended times, because typically day one has always been light. But the other thing that we are looking at, we've talked about going, getting away from every family showing up and doing an in-person registration and transitioning completely to electronic. And so this year we'll also be piloting electronic registration. We'll be working with some of our families who are employees of the district and seeing if we can have those families do theirs electronically, and then also that opportunity would be open to board members, and then we'll also identify other families within the district. And so the challenge for us is the proving residency, and so we're going to be working with families to see if, uploading documents electronically, seeing if Skyward will afford us that ability, and then with the goal of, for the 2019-2020 school year, we'll move away from the in-person registration and transition to electronic. We'll always have to set up something for new families to the district, and then with individuals who lease property, we would have to look at, something for leases that expire, and those families submitting new leases, updated leases to the district. But that's going to be our goal for the 19-20 school year.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, anything else? Did you have anything else, Kevin?
No, that's it.
Okay. Are there any board reports? There is one thing that I wanted to share. Tomorrow night, April 11th at 7 o'clock, the Westmont Police and Fire Department will compete against District 201 staff in a volleyball match that will benefit Special Olympics. Come out and support the defending champions, the Westmont High School teachers and staff. And that is tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at Westmont High School. Okay, are there any public comments? Mr. Kaplan left. Are there any other public comments?
All right. My name is Tanner Plowman. I am a two-way athlete at Westmont High School. And I'd just like to start off with saying, let me just start saying that I was not emailed or messaged by any coaches to come here tonight. While I don't like the decision to move to Metro, I do respect the decision because it's part of your job. Your job also includes being patient and taking deep thought into making crucial decisions. It does not include disrespecting our athletic director, and our hardworking, non-paid and paid coaches. I was truly embarrassed to have one of our board members and the president to air their dirty laundry. I am glad that Mr. Balderman had the guts to stand up for our athletic department as they were stabbed in the back public. While I thought the transition to Metro would decrease the number of students participating in sports, I'm afraid that our school board has already done that. I would like to take a moment and talk to the 10 people viewing this channel right now, and the people that are here right now as well, to take a good look at these board members and decide if the district is a good representation of what we want our community to be. After that, I would just like to say thank you and for making your decision.
Are there any other public comments?
Again, Carrie Bauerlein, WTA co-president. I just want to let the board know that we hear your points and respect your decision. And the WTA is still awaiting response in regard to the comments from the March 20th board meeting. And I just want to be very clear about the impact that this process and decision will have on the relationship with the WTA. I hope that we can move forward together and find a resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other public comments? Future meetings and events, upcoming meetings and events. Again, tomorrow night's volleyball match, 7 o'clock at the high school. Then, as Mr. Carey mentioned, kindergarten registration, April 9th through the 13th, 9 to 11, and 1 to 3 at Manning and Miller schools. There will be pre-screening on April 12th by appointment. On April 17th at 6 o'clock, community talks at the Westmont Junior High School. 5th grade band concert, April 18th at 7 o'clock at the Westmont High School. 5th grade step-up night, April 19th at 6:30 at Westmont Junior High School. Miller School Science Fair, April 20th, 6:30 PM, Miller School. And the next school board meeting will be April 24th, 7 o'clock at Westmont Village Hall. The chair will entertain a motion to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing personnel issues, student discipline, probable litigation, and the sale or lease of property.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Coyle?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Mr. Stromeyer?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Thank you.
No, no vote.
Okay, there is not a vote after closed. Thank you.